week one of the fantasy football season. Here's a few kickers I would start this week. So, kicker position, I think this season it's pretty healthy going into the year. I know not many people focus on kicker, but there's a lot of kickers out there now that can hit 50-plus yards. And let's say a kicker, hits a 50-plus yarder, 30, 40-yarder, and a couple extra points. That's a big day in double-digit fantasy points. So the first kicker, Jake Elliott, of the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles. So this week, a good matchup. Dallas Cowboys coming to town. Season opener, Thursday Night Football. And this Eagle offense, obviously high-powered. A lot of great weapons. Jalen Hurts leading the way with A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith. So they're going to put up points. I know a lot of extra points he had to put up last season was Jake Elliott. But this is going to be a good matchup for him versus that was Cowboy defense that last year couldn't stop anyone. And now they traded Micah Parsons away to the Green Bay Packers. So I think this Eagle team, they're going to be living in the red zone early and often. Even though it's a night game, weather's still great, obviously, here in September in Philadelphia. So he's a start easily this week. Next kicker, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos. So Will Lutz last season, an impressive year for him as well. And he's got a big boot and obviously in the altitude as well. That ball really carries. And a Sean Payton favorite Will Lutz has been throughout his career. As soon as Payton was the head coach with this Bronco team, he made a deal for Lutz a couple seasons ago. So Denver's going to be a solid team once again this year. Last season, I know they had trouble punching the ball into the end zone, even though they added some nice pieces in the offseason. They signed Evan Ingram. Then J.K. Dobbins brought in free agency, drafted R.J. Harvey. So this offense should be improved. And Bo Nix had a nice rookie season where I think he'll be solid this year as well. But Will Lutz, he's still going to have opportunities this season. Like I said, he's got a big boot and home games and nice altitude where the ball carries. That's always a plus. And this week in a good matchup versus Tennessee where they're bend but don't break defense at times in the red zone. Opportunities will be there once again for Lutz. And he's a start this week. Next kicker, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So one of the more accurate kickers of all time. And last season we saw a game where he hit 7 field goals was Chris Boswell, where there was even a few games he had 20-plus fantasy points, where that's wide receiver one type of numbers he put up in some of those games. So Boswell's got a big boot. Like I said, one of the more accurate kickers. And this offense, they made some changes. Obviously, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, gone from the Steelers team. George Pickens traded off to Dallas. They brought in Aaron Rodgers, brought in Metcalf, drafted the rookie running back Caleb Johnson. Tight end Jonnu Smith they made a deal for. But I still think this offense is going to have trouble punching into the end zone. Rodgers last season, we saw him struggle majority of the season with the New York Jets, where they had Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams. And I think he's working with less on this offense where he did over there in New York. So Boswell, the opportunities are going to continue for him. And in a matchup at the mentioned New York Jets, where it's obviously going to be a game for Rodgers, where he's going to try to get revenge, I still think both these teams are going to grind it out, and it's going to come down to the kicking in this one. Next kicker, Ka'im Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So Fairbairn, we know he's got a big boot. This week, indoor game at the Rams. This is going to be a high-scoring game, I believe. And he's on an offense as well that's going to stall out, where they don't got a lot of weapons this season going in. I know on paper it looks okay, but besides Nico Collins, no one's a sure thing. Christian Kirk the last couple years banged up and his play gone down, the production for Kirk. Jaden Higgins, he looks like a decent rookie, but we don't know what they're going to get from him. And also the backfield with the veteran Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce, rookie Woody Marks back there. We don't know what the backfield's going to look like with Joe Mixon out. So with all those factors, and we've seen over the years this Texan offense stall out at times as well. I think Fairbairn, especially this week in a high-scoring game indoors in Los Angeles, will be a good option once again. And the final kicker is Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson last season, he was shaky a little bit from 50-plus yards, where coming into the league, he was one of the better long-distance kickers as McPherson, but he's going to get a bunch of opportunities on one of the best offenses in the league. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. So chances will be there early and often, especially in this game at Cleveland. Their defense, I don't think, will be good, obviously, besides Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward as standouts on this defense. I think Cincinnati's going to have their way in this one, even though Joe Burrow's had trouble throughout his career versus Cleveland Brown team. So Evan McPherson, like I said, he's been shaky at times from 50-plus yards, but he still goes out there and he's going to put up points, I believe, this week. So that's a few kickers I would start for week one of the fantasy football season.